How did your experience in the NFL shape the way you see mental health?
There's a lot of challenges when you get into that situation. All of a sudden, you're making a lot of money, become a target. You're like the go-to person for everybody, so that can be mentally draining. And you also got to worry about keeping your job. Every year, there's a new draft class that comes in of people who want to take your job. The locker room was a bonding space for a group of guys because everybody kind of were going through similar situations and can relate. So that's why I think when people retire and they leave, they don't have that space anymore, and they tend to struggle a little bit. When I retired, there was a couple guys that retired like the same time as me, and they were having a tough time transitioning, right, from being in the limelight and then like now post-career not knowing like what they want to do with their life. They were having like mental breakdowns and had to go down to the psych ward.
What's good, everybody? It's your guy, JoJo Simmons, and this is the For Good podcast, where we focus on the good, never the bad, and we're measured by what we do, not what we have. Today, we're sitting down with someone who knows a thing or two about winning, on and off the field. Bryant McKinnie is a Super Bowl champion, a former NFL Pro Bowler, and now a powerful voice for mental health in communities that need it most. After years of playing at the highest level of professional football, Bryant realized that real strength isn't just physical. It's about being vulnerable, telling your story, and creating spaces where others feel safe to share theirs. Through his Be Major Foundation and initiatives like Cocktails and Conversation, he's breaking down stigma around mental health, especially for men of color, athletes, and underserved families. Today, we'll talk about his journey from the NFL to community leadership, how he's changing the conversation on mental health, and why trusted voices like his are so critical in shifting cultural narratives. Today, we have Bryant McKinnie. Thank you, brother.
The crowd goes wild.
Appreciate you being here, brother. I appreciate you being here. So let's get right into it. You've said before it's okay not to always feel okay.
Right.
When did you first realize you needed to make that shift from keeping your mental health private to speaking about it publicly?
Actually, when I retired, there was a couple guys that retired like the same time as me, and they were having a tough time transitioning, right, from being in the limelight and then like now post-career not knowing like what they want to do with their life. And they were having like mental breakdowns, and they was calling me. Like their parents would hit me up, things like that. They didn't want to speak to their family. They'd rather talk to me because they feel like I'm in the same shoes as them and I can relate. So I found myself being more like in the field with them. Like one got Baker Act and had to go down to the psych ward. I went down there to visit and talk. I got on the phone with the NFLPA to figure out like how these guys can get help, how the parents could reach out to people. Like, people didn't know what to do.
Right.
And so I realized, I heard people saying stuff about mental health, like a lot, and I was like, oh, okay. But when it was in my face, I was like, okay, we got to do something about this. Like, you can't just sit here and have no clue. So I was like, let me figure out what I can do, and let's have like more discussions about this. Because a lot of people are going through things privately, and they feel like they're the only ones who are going through it, and they end up falling in depression and things like that. So when you feel like you can open up and have people to talk to and get off your chest and work out and just different things that helps your mental.
That's dope, brother. I think it's important, especially men like you, to step up and speak up for everybody and let them know that there's ways to deal with your mental health and ways to deal with everyday life. How did your experience in the NFL shape the way you see mental health, both the challenges and the opportunities?
There's a lot of challenges when you get into that situation. All of a sudden, you're making a lot of money, become a target, and you're like the go-to person for everybody, so that can be mentally draining. And you also got to worry about keeping your job. So like in sports, every year there's a new draft class that comes in of people who want to take your job. You know what I'm saying? So that's a lot mentally too. So worrying about keeping your job and keeping family and everybody home happy, it can be a burden. But that's why I feel like the locker room was a bonding space for a group of guys because everybody kind of were going through similar situations and can relate. So that's why I think when people retire and they leave, they don't have that space anymore, and they tend to struggle a little bit.
So you would say the locker room was almost like a safe space, a brave space for all of you players to talk about what's going on in the home, what's going on, mentally, what's going on physically. That's amazing. I would never think of it like, obviously we know that teams are close-knit and you guys have to be close-knit to win. Obviously you're a Super Bowl champion, so you know what it takes. Don't be a national champion too. Okay, don't forget, don't play with them. So, you've been on teams that have been on one accord and have to understand that that's what it takes to win. But I never looked at it like, yes, you guys are brothers, but you guys are able to relate and talk to each other about issues that the other man may not be going through because he's not in your position, but they are.
Absolutely. And you have some people who might have went through it already and can already guide
Like
somebody.
an OG.
Yeah, and can guide somebody and tell them how to, how to handle it. So
I love that.
It's very important. I think a lot of people just kind of look at, I don't know how they project the locker room, but by me being in there, it's very family oriented. Like everybody doesn't get along, but everybody has their group of people who they all gel with and, connect with. So
That's dope.
when you have stuff going on, you're going to bring it up to them.
So athletes and men of color often face unique barriers to seek mental health support. How do you help break through that tough it out mentality? Because I know, especially athletes, especially football players, it's just tough it out. Don't worry about your mental health. Just do your job, like you said. Like I spoke to, and I speak to my good friend, Dr. Jay Barnett, who was also a retired NFL player. And he always felt like he just had to do his job. Yeah. And that's what made him valuable. But a lot of the time, you guys ignore the mental health part of it and say, well, just tough it up. Stick it out. You're a man. That's how you've always learned it. How do you help people break through that mentality?
I think this culture in general, because now like the Minnesota Vikings, that's where I got drafted. They come back and they have me speak. My team, we go up there and we speak to the players on mental health. And I didn't know how, because it's a different era from when I played. But they're very open. I feel like they more want to be heard, so they just need somebody to listen. So I think it's a different era where they are more vocal. I came from the era where you just lace up your shoestring and you just get out there and just handle your business. Right. So it wasn't no complaining about, I never missed a game to injury. So it was like, I didn't complain about nothing. I just went out there and just kept doing my job and giving nobody opportunity to come fill in for me. Because it's like, I'm just maybe struggling.
You don't want to lose your job.
I didn't think I was going to lose it, but I wasn't going to give you a chance to even
take it. Yeah, I know what you're saying.
But, so I was part of the era where you just buckled up and you just kept going. But is it the safe thing in the long run? Probably not. Then you see people later on having like probably issues within their home, maybe with like domestic violence situations or people just turning alcohol and just different things like that as an outlet. So being able to open up and get things off your chest, but it got to be with somebody you trust.
Right.
Like the organizations, they'll have people that they say to call, but nobody really ever trusts them because they feel like they're gonna go report upstairs. So you need somebody in your corner that you feel like you can really like vent to and that you can really trust.
Wow. Yeah, it's interesting that like you guys can trust in each other, but like even the things that they may put in place for you to trust, you guys still feel
don't trust it.
Still don't trust it. It's something. It's like I'd rather go through it with somebody that went through it or talk to somebody that gets it.
And just because the front office, they're the ones who provide it, you feel like by you sharing it, they're gonna still go back and tell some of the things you have going on. So players back then were avoiding that.
Right. Your cocktails and conversations events have become known as safe spaces for open dialogue. What do you think makes someone feel safe enough to be vulnerable in those settings? Because, before you get into that, with this For Good podcast, that's what we yearn to do. That's what we want to do, is create a brave space, a safe space for people like yourself and others to come up here and feel vulnerable. And I think I do a pretty decent job with some people. Some people tell me, a lot of people tell me, because I just want to hear your story, and I don't want to judge you. How were you able to be successful with that, with these with the cocktails and conversation?
The people who really know me know that I'm that type of person that you can kind of open up to, and I'm gonna try to give you the best advice I know, or direct you to somebody who can give you some sound advice. So I'm able to make people comfortable, and then they're willing to open up. So the first thing I do is break down their level of comfortability, make them very comfortable, and then they'll open up and share. But my cocktails and conversation, what I do is I bring, like 3 therapists there. I bring an athlete, I bring a reality star, a rapper, actress, different people, and they'll come up, and they're all my friends. So they already know how it is. I have a certain relationship with them. So they want to come up there and they're going to be very vulnerable and open. So now that makes people in the audience, because the audience get to ask questions and say things. I've had friends, like the first year I did it, didn't know they were going through anything, and the next day they text me like, "I'm so glad you did this, because I'm going through this and the other." I would have never known.
And that hits the most for you, right? When somebody texts you and is like, "Yo, I needed this."
Yeah. So,
and you think it's easy for them to be vulnerable because you're so vulnerable? Like I
wasn't always vulnerable,
but because you 6'8", big guy,
I think now,
able to come out and be like, "Yo."
My one friend who told me that the next day, I would have had no clue. I have a lot of friends. I feel like I have like strong like personality, and you just seem like nothing's ever wrong with them, but those are the ones you need to check on.
Those guys are the ones you always need to check on.
Yeah.
I take myself as one of those guys, and not to say I need to be checked on. Well, I always need to be checked on. I love who loves me. But you would never know on the surface of me. I could be having a bad day, and I'm gonna get in front of people, and I'm gonna have the same energy if I was having a good day.
Right.
Just because I don't know what that is. I don't know what they call it. What people that may be struggling on the inside but not showing it on the outside. But I relate to that. Not that I'm going through a struggle now, but I've related to that in the past where you think JoJo has it all together because he's a goofball and he comes goofing around, but really inside I was hurting at times. Inside I wasn't confident at times.
Right.
Inside I didn't feel empowered. But we've learned to keep on going, right, and just tough it out, you know.
Right, and that's something that's been embedded in us as kids. But like now you have to like learn how to just like switch gears a little bit and learn how to just talk about things and get things off your chest. I always try to tell people holding things in is like having a soda can and just keep shaking and shaking it, and eventually it's going to explode.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you got to eventually just kind of let some of the air out before it explodes.
Yeah. You've compared mental health care to car maintenance routine and necessary. How did you come up with that comparison?
Just off the fly, just using an analogy, just saying like, you got to, get your oil change or get some type of maintenance, you know what I mean, to keep up with your car. Don't wait for the check engine light to come on to realize something's wrong. It's okay
I love
to
that
just,
analogy.
Yeah, but it's okay to just make sure that you're good in all spaces. And that comes with your health. It just comes with like a lot of just different things. And it's okay to say no. That's another thing I probably had an issue with for a long time is people pleasing and not know how to say no. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then I feel like it empowers you to be able to sometimes just say no. Like, nah. Because I feel like sometimes you're getting in the way of people's lesson trying to, like they're coming to you all the time when they probably should sometimes be going to God.
Yeah, wow. And I love the car analogy too because I look at it like it is just like you take care of your body. You need to maintain your car. You need to have, like you can see a really nice Bentley outside, right? And it might look beautiful on the outside, but on the inside it might have every light on, and because it hasn't been maintained and it hasn't been taken care of. And that's the same way you gotta look at your mental health and your physical health.
Exactly.
It's like maintain yourself. Go to the doctor. Go to the dentist. Make sure your mental health is good.
Right.
Make sure you feel empowered. Make sure you feel confident. Pour into yourself before you pour into others. That's why I love it. And speaking of that analogy, why do you think it hits so hard with your audience? Like, why does it relate so much to your audience?
Because I think a lot of people put themselves last and are always trying to help other people. And then you find yourself, I always tell people like, if I'm pouring everybody's cup and nobody's ever pouring back into me, my cup gonna be empty.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah.
So it's like somebody got to be able to pour back into me sometimes, you know what I mean, or pick me back up sometimes. I can't be there for everybody all the time and there's nobody pouring back into me.
Well, you won't be able to be there for anybody if you can't be there for yourself.
Right.
I always tell people that, and my wife, we understand that. I make sure there's like make sure you're pouring into yourself before you pour into me and the kids, and I'll do the same. Because obviously they come first, but the real person that comes first is yourself.
Right.
Because if you're not taking care of yourself, how can you take care of anyone else?
And I feel like self-care has become a big thing now. People are realizing like, okay, you need to start doing things to take care of yourself. So self-care moments where you're doing and getting a massage, anything like that relieves some stress out of your life is do that because it's very important.
I always say it's like the plane analogy, not to talk about a plane crash, but if it goes down, they say put your mask on first before you help anybody else. How can I help you if I die or if I can't breathe, right? So when working with licensed clinicians and community leaders, how do you make sure the message stays relatable and doesn't become too clinical or intimidating for people?
Because we open up to the audience, so we allow the audience, like we do like little like questions and we give the audience a chance
Q&As.
To give feedback and do like little polls, just different things to keep it interactive. You don't want to, I never want to do a speech where I feel like we're just talking at people. I want them to feel involved too, because when you feel involved, now you feel like I'm a part of it. And,
yes.
You know what I mean? It makes you more interested, and then now you're waiting to see what hits you where you can now raise your hand and speak on it.
People feel so empowered when they feel a part of a community that they can relate to. That's what I always realized. People are yearning for a community. People are yearning for like-minded people. People are yearning for people that are pouring good like they're doing.
Yeah.
Like people are yearning for these spaces. People want these communities. People want to show
feel
up.
Good when they leave those type of spaces too.
We're so tired of the drama.
Yeah.
People are so tired of it. It's the world is beating everybody down. We need a little more love. We need a little more positivity. We need a community that's building each other up. So that's why I say people are yearning for these spaces. People are yearning to talk about their hurt so they can get it out and to relate to somebody that also hurt so they can say, you know what, it's okay. It's fine. Everybody else is going through it. It's fine. You know what I mean?
Right.
So people are yearning for communities, and that's why I love what you're doing for the community and the systemic change. So I wanted to talk about your focus on your foundation in the youth and the single parent families. How can starting mental health conversations early change community attitudes in the long run? Speaking about the community.
It can change when you get with the kids, like some of the young athletes we work with, getting with them and like teaching them, how to be a winner, and then, the lesson you learn from losing and things like that. It's like you start to give them like structure and like how to develop like a team type of attitude. You know what I mean? And then you also have to teach them how to like, work ethic. It's a lot of structure that goes into that. So I feel like that helps out a lot.
What do you say you learn from losing? You said you teach them. What do you learn from losing? And I think this can relate to the world, not just football. I feel like a lot
of people think losing is like a bad thing, but it's like sometimes you have to lose in order to know how to win. You know what I mean? So if I've never lost, then it's like I didn't really learn anything. There's always a lesson in the loss. Like, what did I do wrong? How can I be better? So you have to figure that out when you lost. Like, you know what I mean? It's always a lesson. So I don't say loss, I say a lesson, because I had to learn something. And then what I learned is I have to get better at that in order to become, successful. So I just don't, I understand the process of losing. Everybody's not going to win everything.
But is a win truly a win without a loss? How do you know what a good win feels like without a bad loss? Right. I always tell people that, like, of course, you wake up every day and things are working out for you, that feels like a win. But do you truly know what a win is until you see a bad loss? You know what I mean?
No,
like,
you don't.
That's
right? Why I would say you learn more in your valley lows and your mountain highs, because you got to go through things. It builds character. So it's a lot more that takes place there. And then when you win, you're like, I finally accomplished it. You know what I mean? Now it's on to the next win. So you may have to go back down there again to learn and then get back up there. So
this is why I always love Michael Jordan. Everybody talks about all the time he won, but barely talk about all the times he lost to the Detroit Pistons and the Boston Celtics and all these people. And he's the definition of knowing what loss and pain feels like and coming back and knowing what wins and
using it.
And what?
So
he's
some people
the biggest. You didn't think he'd be the biggest, the face, the poster for basketball.
Yeah. Some people know how to take a loss, or take when somebody like tries to tell you that, oh, I don't think you'll do good at this, and they know how to take that energy and put it into making them like that's their why. You know what I mean? And keep pushing them and motivate them to become a great person, a great player.
What role do influencers, fellow athletes, and artists play in the work you're doing, and why is that collaboration important? I know before we started press and record, you said you speak to not just athletes, but you've helped Hitmaker, which is a friend of mine as well. Like, why is it so important doing it with them? You know what I mean? Like, what's this? Why is it so important having collaboration with these type of people?
Because you want to see, because the people who have been on my panel are my friends, so I know like some of their stories. So I like them to show their vulnerability too to the audience. You know what I mean? This year, like Lisa Ray, we had the same birthday. One of my good friends. So she came up there and she's gonna be real. Sean T grew up in the same neighborhood as me. Our parents went to high school together. He's gonna tell his story. This year I feel like we talked about grieving a lot, because like a lot of people had lost people. The year before I had like Ray Rice up there, and he talked about, his domestic violence situation.
Shout out to Ray Rice.
Lil Scrappy was on there. He talked about his situation with like going through with divorce and things like that. So there's different conversations with each group of people. Just depends on who the group of people is.
It's amazing that you spoke to Ray Rice. I know that probably he went through a lot of
he was my teammate
health.
too.
He went. I know it.
Yeah.
I know what teams you played for, brother. I know what teams you played for. But shout out to him. I know he probably went through a lot after that situation. Yeah. I'm happy that he has you in his corner, because a man could easily go crazy after
and that's what you need. Is like, during that period of time, is he needed like guys like myself,
needed
and
a brother
Smith, who still was surrounding him when like things were kind of going haywire for a minute, but yeah, we still.
I love that. I love that. Yeah. I love that.
And his wife as well.
Love that. In what ways do you see your work intersecting with other public health efforts like harm reduction and substance use prevention?
I think a lot of people sometimes tend to get on substances because of they're trying to escape the reality. So if you can kind of fix their whole mindset and clear that up, it can kind of start weaning them off the substance, instead of, like, a lot of people get on drugs and alcohol to escape reality, and that's really reality is what they need. So it's like we have to fix their reality and kind of make it, very clear for them and open. And I think a lot of them don't have people to talk to, so they run to the drug and they feel like that's their friend.
Reality is what they need was an important line. A lot of people are running away from reality. And
Well, yeah, social media to me is a highlight reel. You know, nobody really shows their lows.
there's no real to it. It's a reel, but there's nothing real about it, right?
Yeah, right. So,
they got Instagram reels, but ain't shit real about it. You know what I
everybody
mean?
showing their highlights, and then you know, some of the highlights you don't really know what is really taking place behind the scenes. You know, for them to get things, and then like later on you may see like, oh, this is how they got this. You're like, you know what I mean? So it's just people have to just learn to be real with themselves.
People have to. I agree. People have to learn to be real with themselves, and people need not to compare themselves to others because you never know
what they're going
behind
through.
that nice car, behind that nice house, behind that smile, what they're truly sacrificing or going through for that. So you're expanding into mental health, which is a big thing here at the For Good Podcast, and fitness retreats. How do you keep that intimate, personal approach as your reach grows?
I just feel like I'm very like hands-on, and I try to just build relationships with a lot of people, and I don't know. I got some type of like gift where I can just kind of make people feel comfortable and welcome. So that's what I want to continue to do. And the people who I ask to be a part of it, I feel like I see that in them as well. So that's very important to me too. So it's like I don't want to just call anybody. It has to be somebody I'm kind of familiar with.
I love it.
It has to be good energy. You know what I mean? So
you feel the energy.
Yeah,
you gotta have to be good
I have
energy.
a feeling I know them. So it's like I'm gonna call on those people instead of just anybody because it's a name.
So I love how you've been doing a lot of work with former players, former teammates, people, entertainers, especially in the mental health world. If you could change one thing about mental health and how it's discussed in underserved communities, what would that be for you?
To stop labeling it as just somebody being crazy. You know what I mean? It's quick to say, oh, he's crazy. And then because of them being crazy, automatically everybody kind of like moves away from them instead of like, let's try to figure this out. Let's try to get them some help. Like, once they just say, oh, they're crazy, and then that's it. They get brushed to the wayside. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, well, that's your family or that's your friend. Like, let's try to get them some help, you know? So that's the main thing. So it's always a big stigma, or you don't talk about it at all.
Right.
Like, a lot of people just walk around like nothing's happening, and it's like, you're going through a lot, and then it's like silently, they're home and they're committing suicide or things like that, and it's like, they didn't feel like they could even open up to anybody around them.
Because people made them feel crazy.
Right.
Instead of making them feel heard, they made them feel crazy.
Right.
And I think you said something important. Growing up, we thought somebody was crazy if they was going through a mental crisis or something was going on or had a mental breakdown.
Or even
not
getting
crazy.
therapy. People feel like going to therapy was like,
still to this day.
Yeah.
Some people are very more open to it, and I'm so happy that, especially young black dudes, a lot of my friends are starting to get therapists. But yeah, for years it was like not.
Yeah,
a
if you
thing.
go back like 15 years ago and you said somebody going to a therapist, they think you're crazy.
Yeah, they think something wrong with you. You got to shrink. That's what they say, right? yeah.
Like, no, I'm just trying to get some things off my chest, trying to figure life out.
I'm just trying to shrink my trauma.
Right. How about
you know
that?
what I mean? So for someone who's watching this and never sought out mental health support, but is struggling, what's one thing you want them to hear from you right now?
Try to find a local therapist in your area, in your community. But if that's not the right one for you, you don't have to feel like you have to stick with them. Just try to keep searching out other people, because sometimes people go to a therapist and they're like, oh, this is just not a connection with them and that person, and they give up. But it's like, just try to search out some other ones just in case, and you may be able to connect with somebody. Because your first one might not be the one for you, but there's other options.
I have a question about that too. And I speak to a lot of people about this, black community especially. A lot of them say there's scarcity in black therapists. And it's hard for them to find a therapist they relate to, like you just said. And some of them give up after the first one because like I don't click with this person.
Yeah.
What do you tell that person, the black person that says, hey, it's hard for me to find a therapist I feel like that can understand my language?
I have a few, like on my panels, pretty much all black therapists.
Hit up Bryant
a few
McKinnie.
people. Yeah, I have a few people that they can do Zoom, they can do in person or whatever, but I have a few options for people.
So for the people, love to know what you do for your mental health and what have you done lately for your mental health?
Working out is a big thing.
Same. Not as big as you, but I'm
you go a couple of days without working out, you start to feel like a little brain fog, and it's like, all right, let me get back into it. But you feel great after you work out.
Yeah.
So I think that's a big part of it, and that's another reason why I say, like, a lot of athletes, that's all we did was work out. And I feel like post-career, the workout slowed down for a lot of people. And I think that's when the mental fog starts creeping in.
Yeah.
And now I'm trying to decide, who am I as an individual? Because at 6 years old, I was an athlete. 6 years old all the way to, you made it to the league in your 20s and 30s. You know what I'm saying? So now it's like, what's my identity? You know? So they have now lost their identity because now you still have a lot more life to live, but you're in your mid-30s and you're just like, what do I do next? Like, you know what I'm saying? So working out to me is like played a big part. And I feel like when I first retired, what else you had to weigh in every Friday? Or you got fined $300 a pound. You know what I'm saying? If you was overweight, so you had to stay a certain size. So my first 2 years, I was like, I ain't working out. Like, but then after I was
break.
Like, sheesh. I said, I'm not feeling like myself. Let me get back into the gym. And I started doing like group activities. We used to have like boxing classes. And I would have a bunch of friends come and I would promote the boxing classes and then play tennis now. So just different things just to keep the mind going and the body moving.
I feel the same about working out. We talk about that a lot here on the podcast because I work out 6 days a week. Love it. It's done a lot for me, not only physically, mentally. It's empowered me. It's made me feel better. It's made me feel so strong. It's made me feel seen. It's made me feel heard. It's made me feel part of a community.
It makes you feel like you complete something.
It makes you feel, I was going to say it. So every morning I like to work out every morning because I feel like I've completed something as soon as I woke up. Right. So now I want to go complete everything else. I want to go close more deals. I want to go do this. Hey, let's get the podcast going. Let's get stuff going because I've already accomplished something. I've already conquered myself this morning. So how can I keep conquering? That's how I look at working out, and that's why I love working out. And I know some people hate hearing about it because they don't work out and they don't realize what it can do for you.
Once they get into it, though,
it's the greatest thing.
Endorphins, you get that feeling.
My wife wasn't in, now she's in, and she looks great. She lost a lot of weight. Like I say this because we go to the same gym, and there's some mornings like we're just not feeling each other. We're married, right? Not talking to each other in the car or whatever, a little snarky. But when we leave the gym, we're all smiling. And like, how was your work? I like it. You know what I mean? So that it does change your mood and your attitude. It helps you with that brain fog. It really makes you feel good about the day and about yourself. You know what I mean? Yeah. So that's why I love working out. Can you tell us, is there any like new books, movies, or music you're listening to that's been inspiring you that people may want to listen to, watch, or read?
I read a lot of business books.
Hey, so tell us what you're reading. We want to hear about the business. I love business.
It's a book about negotiating called Never Split the Difference. I read that now just because just different things I have as far as business.
I love that. Never Split the Difference. I'm going to look that book up.
So it's about the art of negotiating. And it just teaches you how to properly negotiate so it can be in your favor.
I love that.
So that's one of the books I'm reading right now.
That's dope.
I read a couple books, but that's the book I'm on right now.
I love that. So before we head out of here, I will check out that book, by the way. Just the title got me already, like Split the Difference. I like that. But before we head out of here, would love to ask you, do you have anything new coming up, anything special coming up, any new events, anything that you want the people to know about?
I speak to the Vikings in October on mental health.
Oh.
They're bringing me back again this year,
Amazing.
so I speak to the team.
Good for you, man.
Ray Rice will be with me, and then one of my therapists, Dr. Tasha. I have a company called Let's Chat, so we do language translation. So I'm in the tech space, and then I'm opening a brokerage in Atlanta. So that'll be in October 9th weekend.
I love that you retired from the NFL, but you have so much purpose.
I keep myself active.
You got so much things to do because, like you said, a lot of them don't know what
to do afterwards,
and you figured it out.
I feel like I just happened to play football, but I was already like social. You know what I'm saying? Where a lot of people was like, they just identified themselves as a football player. I was like a social person who happened to play football. You know what I mean?
I feel the same. I feel like Spice Adams feel the same way, right?
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I've heard his story. He was like, I was a football player, but I was always like a goofball, funny. Like everybody always told me I could be a comedian, and now look at him, right? Like
he was always like that.
I heard. So shout out to Spice. That's my guy right there. Much love. He's a goof.
Spice too.
There you go. For sure. So no, I appreciate you coming on here, Bryant.
Thanks for having me.
This was an amazing conversation. Love what you're doing for the community. Love what you're doing for not only your mental health, but others around you, others not around you, others that learn about you.
Right.
You're really changing the narrative. You're really helping change the narrative. I think in sports is important because athletes are going through so much. They go not just football, but all sports. You guys go through so much of.
I feel like they go through a little bit more now with all the comments on social media. And things like that
it's killing them. You know, I've seen guys like Ben Simmons have really let stuff like that get to them. Real talented players.
One thing with when I got to Baltimore was Ray Lewis was like, I don't read the comments whether they're good or bad. He was like, that's going to keep me. Yeah. So a lot of people I think just get into it. And I guess that sometimes just seeing stuff is just at a certain point you just have a moment where you just like I had enough and you want to fire back, but.
I get those moments.
Sometimes I don't even let them know I see anything just because like
I don't really do it much, but one time I got so mad I went on somebody's page and I was like, that's why you look like it doesn't need to delete this comment. I was so mad. But you're right, you can't look at the comments because
really I think a lot of times when I see people do that is they're really a fan and they really just want your attention
all the time.
So it was all about like when the Shade Room started like the clapback thing. I feel like that made people be like, I'm gonna say this because
to see if they'll clap back.
They say something to me because if they say nice things, nobody really says anything.
That happened to me before though. Somebody said something mean and I said something back to her like, I didn't mean that. I love you. I just want to see if you're gonna answer me. I'm like, come on with this weird stuff. You know what I mean? But no, man, thank you for always showing up in the space for athletes, for showing a space for underserved families, for Black people. It's needed in this space. It's needed in this world, especially guys like us that have a platform, have a name, have a voice. We must speak for the speechless. You know what I mean? We must show up for the ones that aren't, and we must always, just empower people to realize that you're not weird, crazy, to focus on your mental health.
You're just having a moment, you need to just get through it.
Yes, sir. Thank you, everyone. It's your guy, JoJo Simmons, Bryant McKinnie. This is the For Good Podcast, where we focus on the good, never the bad, and we're measured by what we do, not what we have. Till next time, we're signing out. Peace.